Black Adam is the latest DC Extended Universe outing starring Dwayne "The Rock's" Johnson.
We're here to discuss this movie in our new movie review format.
The good.
Been a while since anyone's made the world this nervous.
The bad.
There's no one on this planet that can stop me.
The ugly.
I've eaten a lot of canaries.
All right, Turk, what's your first impressions of this film? Did it deliver or did it not deliver?
This movie delivered for me. It was entertaining. It was fun. Not a complex story, but didn't need to be. I thought it was a good resurgence by DC to put out a film like this. I thought it kind of reinvigorated the brand a little bit, and hopefully they can build on this success, hopefully.
Yes, I agree with you. I thought this was a step in the right direction. I had a lot of fun in this movie. It was action-packed. I think all of us, when we went there, we were all pretty much satisfied for the most part. On that note, let's get started.
The good.
For me, one of the good things about this movie was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson himself. I thought that he was born for this role. He really shepherded this movie, and I think the final product shows. He really cared about it.
Like he said, this is the role he was born to play. I totally agree. He was perfect for this role.
Yeah, he definitely was. Like, he looked like a character straight out of a superhero comic book.
One of the good things that I enjoyed was the cinematography. I thought some of the scenes were shot really beautifully. It just was aesthetically pleasing. The CGI was really good, in my opinion, of this show. It was. I actually think it, in ways, it supersedes some of the latest Marvel films, in my opinion. I thought this was a step up, and CGI was used cleverly, and it didn't look too wishy-washy, and everything was for a purpose in this one.
Basically is floating the whole time. I love that effect that even when he was just in one place, he was basically up in the air.
Very rare did he walk in this movie.
Like, you know, like for a guy that's all beefy, he's kind of like a lazy superhero.
I'm starting to think he skipped leg day.
He's just floating.
Yeah, all the time.
With his head hunched. But I thought it was a cool effect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of the best effects is when he was coming down the apartment and he was going, instead of taking the stairs, he just was descending real slow.
Yeah.
And like, this slow where that stupid kid would always just follow him.
Yeah. I thought all the costumes in this film were awesome. I thought every character had a really great costume. They weren't cheesy. I thought they were all really well done. Yeah, that was a highlight for me.
Especially Dr. Fate and Hawkman's costumes. I think
100%.
I love the Hawkman costume. Like, it's a little bit different than the comic book, but for a screen, I thought it played really well with the gold plated.
Yes,
really
that was
good.
so cool. It was a nice touch.
And the red tights that he kind of wore, I thought it could come off cheesy, but it worked. That's another thing. I thought all the performances outside of the kid.
Adam Smasher, maybe one of the weaker performances, I thought.
I don't know. I actually enjoyed him, but I know what you're saying.
My favorite characters' costumes were Hawkman and Dr. Fate's, as well as yours. I think that's hands down just the two aesthetically pleasing costumes. They just give you the more visuals where you're actually paying attention to their costume.
Right.
You're looking at all the detail in it, and I thought it was really well done.
And I know Pierce Brosnan, he wore a motion capture suit. To me, it looked really photorealistic. You would think it's actually him in the costume. Like, it looked really good. Like,
it did.
The helmet that he wore.
Helmet was awesome.
Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, I thought he stole the show, actually, in this film.
Yes, he commands a presence for sure.
You know, but he doesn't overshadow anybody else. Like, he's a great supporting character, but he's a character I want to know more about him in this universe on screen. So I hope eventually we kind of get filled out on his story, because he was fantastic.
I agree. Another thing I really loved was the homage to Clint Eastwood's The Good, the Bad, the Ugly showdown. I thought that was kind of cool with Adam after he had just seen that brief clip of television in the apartment there, and then he goes out to face a bunch of guys, and he kind of mimics that way of like how he, you know, shot the guys with his lightning or whatever. That was cool. One other thing that stood out for me was near the end where Black Adam is fighting Sabak. I thought him tearing apart Sabak in half from the horns there, I thought that was really well done. I really love that part.
You said I thought the action sequences were really well done, especially like when he first got out of his tomb and he was going through those mercenaries. Not only was he showing his brute strength, but he would use his lightning power there. You could see him going through slow motion. Like, this movie does a lot of...
Which I appreciate.
You appreciate it. So,
yeah.
On a spectrum, does this hold up? Because you like the slow-mo.
Yeah, I mean, when it's done where it needs to be,
and
yes.
And you felt like it wasn't too much in this film?
No, I didn't think it was too much. I thought it was placed properly. I don't think they overdid it.
This is a fast movie, so if you want, like, high adrenaline, this movie, it has it.
It does.
Another good thing about, I thought the introduction of the Justice Society of America was really good. There's a lot of introduction, classic comic book characters, and you know, a lot of times it can get muddled down with so many characters, but this movie did it in a way, well, yeah, these characters exist. They're here, it's all established, and they didn't have to spend a lot of time really establishing things, and I thought the movie did that really well, because a lot of movies sometimes overdo it.
Yeah, we don't need 20-minute backstories on every character that's in the show.
Like, basically, Atom Smasher and Cyclone, they're basically, you guys have a good reputation, Cyclone, we know your family lineage, and same with Atom Smasher. Shout out to Henry Winkler playing his uncle, the original Atom Smasher.
Yeah, the Fonz.
The Fonz. Hey. Another good thing I thought was actually the directing. Jaime Collet-serra. I was a little bit concerned when I found out he was the director because he directed Jungle Cruise. Now, and it's a beautiful looking film, like effects wise, but I thought the story was so weak that I found the movie kind of dry and it just wasn't that fun of a ride for me. But I thought this was the right material for him and he took full advantage of everything that the script kind of gave him. Also, I thought this movie's plot twist was really good. Teth-Adam gets his powers from his son, Hurrah, who is actually the chosen one by the gods or Shazam. At first you think the movie, it's actually him, but it's actually his son. And it makes sense when you see throughout the movie why Black Adam is staring at that monument dedicated to him. You think it's him, but it's actually his son. And I thought that was really touching. Now, I'm sure if anyone that read this plot twist kind of in the DC New 52 comics where his nephew who received the powers and Adam killed him for it, still I like this, and this kind of makes Black Adam a little more humane and relatable because he is an anti-hero. I know the character, depending on history, he can be played as a villain, but I thought if we're gonna make him an anti-hero, this is perfect. The director actually drew inspiration. Black Adam is Dirty Harry of this universe, and I think that works really well because Dirty Harry as the character has his own means of justice. He's kind of like, he'll inflict, you know, even lethal justice if it calls for it, and we see through this movie Black Adam, he ain't Superman, he ain't no Boy Scout, he's taking people out lethally and even thoughtless, and some of the humor really played really well off of that when they're telling you can't just kill people. I just did. yeah no, I agree that plot twist was kind of interesting. I liked it caught you by surprise, and I liked that he was killing characters, and then when Hawkman came in contact with him and he would just basically, you know, when Black Adam was going to go talk to these guys and he goes, listen, if you don't tell me what you know, I'm gonna drop you guys. And so Hawkman was like right there beside him and he's like, okay, you didn't tell me. So he drops the guy and Hawkman's like, Jesus. So he goes down and he goes to save the one guy. He's like, you can't do that, you can't do that. And he's like, what? You saved them. Hawkman is constantly berating him. He's like, man, because throughout the whole movie he's basically, because he even says, like, Black Adam says, well, they're alive, that's because I saved them.
And he's like, yeah, it worked out.
It worked out. So I like that. And also Hawkman in the comics, like, he is kind of cantankerous with certain characters, so I'm glad we kind of got to see that in the film. And even Atom Smasher, he's like, we're gonna have a talk, me and you. Me and you.
Yeah.
I like that.
I did too. I understood why he was kind of a dick, because he had to be, because he was trying to command these young kids, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, you know, he has this weird wizard with him who has a helmet from another planet.
Yeah.
And he can see the future. And then you have these freshies, and then they have to try to like combat this potential anti-Superman.
Yeah.
So it played out really good. I also want to mention another was a good thing in this movie was actually Kareem, the brother of Adriana, the fat slob brother.
Yeah.
I thought comedic aspects of it was fantastic, especially when he finds out that he's not going to die by these circumstances. So he throws all caution in the wind, and he's fighting those zombies.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill is back as Superman.
100%.
The suit looks awesome, nice and bright the way it should be.
He's got the Christopher Reeve curl.
Yeah, we've always talked about, I think throughout the whole DC extended universe, I thought he always got kind of a bum rap, because I think Henry Cavill has the potential to play one of the quintessential Supermans. I just don't think the material or the movies, like, as much as I like Zack Snyder, I think his kind of take on Superman, in my opinion, Superman is bright, like especially in his appearance in this film, and it really stood out. I love that, and it's got me excited.
Me too.
Now we're gonna turn over to
The bad.
One of the few things, because I don't think there's many, but one of the few things that I thought was bad for the film was Dr. Fate's death was kind of useless in the film. It didn't really change the outcome of the fight. I thought they either should have made it more meaningful, but in my eyes, it was just, I don't know, it was just to kill a character. I don't think it was all that great.
Yeah, I felt like it was kind of just tagged on there that, okay, we got to kill at least the character. I thought it was a little too predictable, because in the film they were always kind of teasing that Hawkman was going to die. Now I understand that people that know Hawkman, he gets reincarnated.
He gets reincarnated.
So him dying necessarily mean it's a bad thing. So I figured he's not going to die. Dr. Fate is going to die.
Yeah.
It still was a cool kind of scene to see him fight Sabak.
Yes, I enjoyed the fight. Yes,
Yeah.
I did 100%. But just the way and why he died, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know, the stakes didn't get raised, in my opinion.
That's actually one of the issues I have with DC, especially with Warner Brothers. They tend to like really go for it right away, instead of like, how about maybe if you're going to kill Dr. Fate, maybe the next film, say the sequel, because we get established, we like these characters, and then you get to the next one, then you up, you know, the threat level where he sacrifices himself. I think stuff like that would play better, but I feel this is a DC problem.
I think that's a miss. If I had to complain about a few things, that is one miss that I would say that the film did, was killing him very early. If they were planning on using him in the future. The helmet does disappear in the film, so we don't know where it went.
And I think that kind of leads into the other bad thing about this film is the story's a little bit undercooked, blah, in certain things. You figure they could have maybe fleshed it out a little bit.
In a way, it kind of reminds me of a Transformers movie, whether it be like a Bumblebee or a regular Transformers, where they got the kids saying, hey, you're this, you're supposed to do this, help me with this, you know, I don't know, that kind of relationship between kid and superhero, it was very similar, and the action was, you know, it was good, but the story was kind of bland.
The mom, okay, she's an archaeologist, and she's kind of like the person that kind of gets the plot going, but her always kind of making these speeches was like, okay, we're gonna use her for that moral exposition, and I felt like it never worked, where she's kind of cussing out, like, you're telling this 5,000-year-old person how to be and about being a hero and shit like that, and then she's trying to have that moral high ground over the Justice Society of America. Well, another thing I wouldn't say there's nothing really wrong with it. I wouldn't say it's bad, but I thought the film score did not really stand out to me. It didn't resonate. Kind of expecting something a little more catchy, where, you know, like Wonder Woman, her theme, as soon as you hear it, you know it's Wonder Woman. Or even Man of Steel's theme in Superman, it's very haunting. I just thought that the music, like, it was okay. I was hoping that there would be like a really standout Black Adam theme, so when you play it, you're like, yeah, Black Adam's on the screen. But maybe in the next film.
One other thing that I didn't like plays to the very, very end of the film, and this is during predominantly the end credits scene. Basically, Amanda Waller telling Black Adam that, listen, like, you're not You're not going to be able to just hang out here and do as you please. We have people that can keep you in check. And he basically goats her and says, listen, try me, right? She eventually like says, listen, we have ways of keeping you in check. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, out comes Henry Cavill's Superman. And so that made me think that Amanda Waller was just conveniently able to summon Superman to go talk to Black Adam. Now, maybe in the rest of the world and inside the universe, maybe they don't know that that can happen. Maybe Amanda didn't do it, but when as a viewer, this is how I felt that it was portrayed, that she was able to summon Superman to go and basically tell Black Adam, listen, be careful what you do, because we're watching you, and we have ways to keep you in check as well.
Well, I thought the scene actually would have worked better if it was just Henry Cavill that showed up.
Right.
And it had a talk with him. They could have had a little more lines, I think, because that was one of the things about maybe the story that was a little bit hard for me. You're like, why wouldn't Superman actually be on the case sooner? Because you can imagine, being that is rediscovered, is probably close to his power, would kind of get his interest, or he'd hear about it, like it's Superman. We don't know really, like the Justice Society of America and the Justice League, they're maybe working hand in hand or know about each other, so maybe it's like Superman's not going to interfere unless he has to, because obviously they don't know the threat level.
Right.
But yeah, it felt like with Amanda Waller, because to me, I always look at Amanda Waller, especially when you saw in the Suicide Squad with Bruce Wayne, she looks like she's a necessary evil, right? So he's going to play the game, so I'm wondering, but it just felt a little too convenient that there's other people I can send you, and then Superman shows up right away. Because I like to think that Superman showed on his own accord.
But it doesn't look like that, though, in the film. So, it's weird.
Finally, that leads us to
The Ugly.
Adriana to me was not a bad character, but I thought her son Amon was very distracting and annoying, telling Black Adam that he needs these stupid catchphrases like, tell him the man in black sent ya, or vice versa. I just thought that, for me, it took me out of the film. It was forced dialogue, and they're trying to get, I don't know, they're trying to get the viewer to laugh at that. I don't know, but it wasn't funny. It didn't pay off, and I really thought that that was one of the worst parts of the film for me.
Well, I was really hoping that big statue of his would fell on him, Dan. I was really hoping the kid bit it, because I hate it.
I'm sorry, but I don't normally advocate for children to be the worst part of the film, but this time it really was.
They could have done something different with the kid, like if he would have been a little more in the background. I thought he was too, like, he was annoying, like he was a hindrance to me in this film. I couldn't I loved when he wasn't on the screen.
Yeah, me too.
Another ugly thing to this film is I'm gonna say this is not necessarily the film, but actually the critics. Well, you realize actually how much critics really don't mean nothing today when it comes to movies. You really see this division, what constitutes a good movie, because after seeing this movie, criticism that this film's getting tells like us, if a film doesn't have really a social agenda, or doesn't make it really clear, or doesn't placate to these things, the movie's not good. And I think that's bullshit.
It is bullshit. If you look at the tomato meter right now, critics are giving it a 40% rotten, and the audiences are giving it a 90%. Now, in my opinion, do I think the 90 is high? Yes. But it's not even close to a 40. I think they grossly criticize this film, and I don't understand. I think, like you said, if new movies aren't pushing a certain agenda, then they're going to try and find ways to hate this film. But just reading some of the critics' critiques, it's really like, I don't even know how these people have jobs. Some of their writing is just horrible, and what they're saying about the film is grossly misunderstood.
Yeah, and the thing is, people still seek critics, whether they should go to a movie, because it costs a lot of money to take a family there. And so if you're going to go take the time and then spend the finances, you want to make it worth your while. And it really feels like these critics are kind of misleading people now. And we understand that people have taste, and it's within their right, their opinions should be allowed, but it feels like all the criticism, especially from the major critics and these outlets, they're all the same cookie carbon critique. Actually, you wonder, did they even watch the frickin' movie?
Yeah, I agree with you on that ugly. That's definitely an ugly.
And finally, the biggest ugly, actually, the bullshit and mishandling Warner Brothers and DC Entertainment has actually done really from the very start of the DCEU. they tried to shoehorn a franchise and try to compete with Marvel, and that was such a mistake. Then that didn't work. And then they tried to kind of do their own thing. They're all over the place. Then there was all this infighting, not only with like people in the company, but then you had scandals with Joss Whedon. Then you had Zack Snyder being tossed aside, but then they brought him back.
Then you got Amber Heard, and then you've got
the Ezra Miller.
So it's a big mess there.
Even
they need
Ray
to clean
Fisher.
it up. Ray Fisher too.
Like
yeah.
the whole thing is like we don't know what's happening here. Just so it's just been from the beginning. It's been, and the inconsistencies with the film. You like one movie like Man of Steel was okay,
yeah,
but then Batman v Superman, no.
Suicide Squad bombed both times.
No, it didn't. The first one is actually a financial success, but the movie was shit.
Sorry, you're right.
We gotta specify there, Turk.
That's right. That's right.
And again, Wonder Woman was a great hit critically and all that. 84, not so much.
Right.
Like the biggest really hit, and it's not even part of the DCU, is the Joker.
I know that was an Elseworld,
and I'm kind of skeptical about why are they doing a sequel.
I'm not sure why it should have been left alone.
But that's neither here or there.
Yeah.
And like I do applaud them that they're trying different things and all that, but the fact is that they've mishandled it, and then they're all over the place with their agenda. Some of it is very woke, and some of it is like, we don't care, just make the movie.
Yeah.
So pick a side, Warner Brothers.
Maybe they're allowing their directors and writers to pick their own sides. Warner Brothers, as a studio, they're just saying, hey, do what you guys want. You want to do a woke film? Do a woke film. You want to do something with no wokeness? Go ahead and do it. So I don't mind that. I'm that's good to be neutral. Let the creators kind of create their own and then just run with it. Now, I understand that it can mean that you don't get as much dollars coming in with the super woke films, because there is a trend out there that the more wokey you go in the film, the less money you're making. So you're right, they do need to basically kibosh some of it and say, listen, it's not working. But I do appreciate they allow their creators to create.
And also, it's not necessarily the wokeness is actually in the film. The problem is, and we see this in almost in every franchise nowadays, it's when they're marketing it and when the people, the writers and the directors and the cast members, they're all saying all this ludicrous stuff. And it's just like, at the end of the day, I just want to watch the film. If you really look at Black Adam, this is why I'm annoyed with all this. It's a very diverse film. Very diverse.
Oh, absolutely.
And the thing is, they never called upon any of it in any of the marketing. And I'm wondering that goes back to the frickin' critics, because The Rock just says, we're going to actually listen to the fans. I've heard him in the press a number of times. He's like, you have to like listen to your audience. You have to make it for them and that. And the thing is, what we're seeing in these other franchises, not to go on a long rant, is that when there's any type of criticism, they pull out those sign language talking points that it's a ist or ism.
That's right.
And fans of this stuff, we're not down with that.
No, we won't give you your money. So go ahead, keep making terrible films, but we just won't go.
Okay, at the end of the day, all that is said and done, would you recommend this film?
I would recommend this movie. I think it was a fun, exciting watch. It's not a perfect film, but it's a fun film, and I think you can get lots of enjoyment out of it.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I had a lot of fun with this film, and I think necessarily have to watch the other films to get into this film. It's self-contained and a lot of fun, and it gets a person excited for future movies.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, on that note, we're out of here.
All right, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Turk and Raz podcast. We appreciate all your support. You can catch us wherever you get your podcasts, such as Google, Spotify, Podbean, Audible, and Amazon. You can also follow us on Twitter at Turk Raz. You can also find us on channels such as Odyssey and Rumble. We would love to hear your feedback. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Smash the like and subscribe to the channels. Also ring the bells for notification and share our videos and podcasts out there. Thank you for listening.